Welcome everyone, this is your host Abraham L. Jaguar, a professional game master. First of all, this channel is proudly sponsored by Durandal. Durandal is a tabletop role-playing game set in the times of Charlemagne's court with mythic chivalry and legendary warriors. The link will be in the description and in the pinned comment. This channel is also proudly sponsored by the Red Room Publishing. Please check out their store for exclusive tabletop RPG products. They have recently released Savage Swords. This is a Conan-inspired tabletop role-playing game where you get to explore ancient civilizations and confront forgotten nightmares. You will find it in their website. The link will be in the description and in the pinned comment. This channel is also proudly sponsored by Dead Tree Studios, the publishers and developers of Dames of Asstoria, a tabletop role-playing game where you play as monster girls, experiencing high adventure in a world that doesn't fully accept them. They have recently released Daughters of Lamb. This is a pay-what-you-want tabletop RPG, where you get to play as cybernetic nuns with guns, looking for the missing pieces of their AI god. You will find it in their website. The links will be in the description and in the pinned comment as well. Now let me maximize. Maximize. All right. All right. All right. All right. This is going to be my review of Steam Build Riders. And I'm also going to give you my thoughts on the actual play. If you haven't seen it, the link will be in the description and in the pinned comment. Steam Build Riders, the Rally Raids, is a storytelling role-playing game that you can play solo or cooperatively. No game master necessary. It's a very simple game. It is actually pointed out as a sort of gateway role-playing game. Although any tabletop RPG, as long as you roleplay, you can easily play it. It's a bit of a myth, of course. For people that are not used to role-playing, it is much easier to teach them the ropes with simple systems, at least for the majority of people. But when you know how to roleplay, just tell them, I present a situation, and you get to interact with that situation by describing your actions in the present. And then you indicate the rest. Roll this, make an attack roll, etc. But suffice to say, this is a very simple system. Although, despite the simplicity of the mechanics, there is quite a bit of number crunching, and you will see why in a few moments. The quality of the physical book is good, although it's a bit too expensive when compared to other books by that same publisher. For example, do you see right there that one, that red book, the red and black? That's Picaresque Roman. That book is much thicker, hardcover, more complex in the mechanics. It includes how do you call it, a replay, like an example, a long example of gameplay, and they cost the same. At least in Amazon, they cost the same, and they have seen them at the same price for during several months. But the quality of the paper is good. Everything is well written, organized, and explained. You have anime type of illustrations, manga type of illustrations, more accurately, right? More on the manga side. Look, pure manga. So the quality is good. If you like the thoughts of the designers and the publishers, you also have a forward and some further commentary. It could be a bit entertaining. Although I didn't enjoy it too much because I've had contact via Discord with many of the members, not all of them, but some of the members of the publisher Lion Wing Publishing, and they are absolute crap when it comes to role playing. That is playing a role and playing a game. They don't play a role, and they're a bit on the woke side. So sadly, then you have an introduction pulling you into the setting. It's a steampunk, post-apocalyptic sort of setting. It's not as bleak. It's not as bleak as other anime or manga or video game settings, but that's pretty much the gist of it. You have this tiered city, Laminopolis, and the higher the tiers, the better the lifestyle. Those that live in the lower tiers or even underground, they experience a lot of hardships. The setting is quite rich, but it's a bit considering the system is too simple. Long campaigns would definitely benefit from such a setting, but it is of my opinion that because of the simple rule set, it is more suitable for very short or one shot type of games. Very short campaigns or one shots. More of like a self contained experience, even though you have campaign rules. The campaign rules do not feel like they represent actual progress. The only things that you can pretty much customize are the parts for your vehicle. Characters are almost non-existent in terms of mechanics. They have a special ability that you can activate once per session, once per rally specifically. But it feels more like the vehicle is the star of the show, but the vehicle doesn't obtain improvements. You obtain options. It's more of a, not even a horizontal growth. You get to keep some weapons, some plating for your vehicle, some tires, whatnot. But the other parts are sacrificed between sessions. So no real progression. Mm, To play this, you need a couple of no, at least four six-sided dice. At least on the side of the navigator, the driver, because this game can be played with one or two players. If you're playing as the driver, you need two dice, unless. Hold on there. Let me check something real quick. Ah, yes, my mistake. Unless you're using a heavy frame vehicle, then you need four dice. So I would recommend, yeah, definitely four dice per player, four six-sided dice, and paper, pencil, etc., or your favorite app. If you want to keep things digitally. The solo rules are at the back. The standard way of playing is with two players, no game master. It combines telling a story of the characters, rather, of the characters, telling a story about the characters as they interact with the game world, but it's also about playing a role. So you have to alternate describing your actions and also taking control of the entire game world and telling a story of things that have already occurred or that are certain to happen. When you make a character, if you are a driver, you determine your name, your appearance, you select your skill. The same applies to the navigator. The points in common is that you choose a profession or roll for it randomly. I would recommend that you roll randomly, that you randomly determine all of the results. Very fun. You also determine your motivation, how you feel about your partner. Maybe you are friends, maybe you are rivals, maybe you are Could be many things. You determine your focus. What is your drive? Now, then you create your vehicle. You have the light frame, the medium frame, and the heavy frame. Another thing that I wanted to mention about Lion Wing Publishing, so that things are not taken out of context. Not only do they not roleplay, if you mention roleplay in tabletop role playing games, you mention the difference between storytelling and roleplay, you will get attacked. And the president of the company, he was also super rude. When I tried to get an interview with him, he just gave me like dates and like the long run, like, yeah, yeah, next week, next week. And then he got an interview with some other person. You should explain. I'm having this interview with this other guy. I cannot tell you exactly when. So next week, the other week. And I told him, I've sent him a message. Hey, if you can't do the interview, that's okay. No, 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 yeah, yeah, next week, next. I don't know what his thing is. I'm getting that he was trolling me. That happens with dishonest individuals. When they are not suitable for direct confrontation, they try to troll you. So very disappointed about that. But still, I am reviewing the book objectively speaking. The ethical bankruptcy of the publisher will have no impact on my opinion to this game. Um, when it comes to the vehicle, you choose your frame. The heavier the frame, the sturdier, the tougher you are. But it's going to be more difficult to control the vehicle when you are driving. Then you determine your tires, your gear, your weapons. These gear and tires modify things such as your durability. They could add special effects to your dice rolls. When it comes to the weapons, they have anti-vehicle, anti-terrain, and anti-monster properties. So you can employ those weapons. You can only take two of them, and you choose which one to use depending on the situation. You roll a number of six-sided dice if you are the navigator. The navigator attacks, the driver drives, depending on your weapon, on the weapon that you're using. The one-time abilities that you have turn your rolls into critical rolls or hits, depending, right? Then you determine your vehicle's name and color. Then you have all the information on how to prepare for the session. Everything is well organized, very neatly explained. Once you create your characters, you establish the first meeting between the player characters by rolling on a random table. This game is all about rolling, coming up with your own interpretation, and then telling a story. Then you go to the city phase. You also roll to determine random events to see if you obtain additional parts for your vehicle. Then you have the tune-up phase, which is deciding by role playing what parts you're going to equip the vehicle with. And I will give you my thoughts at the end. It has to do with the actual play as well. The rally phase. Rally is the meat of it all. This is where everything takes like the major action of the session. It follows a sequence of rolling for a happening, an event that occurs that could present some challenges or even advantages, and you need to take on those challenges or advantages by making your drive rolls, your control checks, and your attack rolls as well. When it comes to the speed check, you choose a speed and you make a roll. It's going to give you a speed value. You also need to make a control check. Otherwise, your vehicle, you will not be able to control it. You may end up crashing or suffering some sort of mishap, taking damage to your durability. When it comes to the weapons check, you choose a weapon, you make a roll, and you see if it connects. It's usually related to defeating a monster because it's a post apocalyptic environment. There are all sorts of creatures in the badlands outside of the settlements, cities. You can also fight other drivers. You participate in these rallies that are sort of like death races. Then you see how much distance the other vehicles made during the race. Then you determine your own distance, and if you have been damaged enough, if your vehicle is damaged enough, you pretty much lose an entire round, as if your vehicle suddenly stops because it is too severely damaged and you need to repair it. Then you have information. Once you reach 1,000 kilometers, you win the race. It's a race against the AI controlled opponents. First one to reach to cover 1,000 kilometers wins. Then you have details on the world of sand, the world section. Pretty standard when it comes to post apocalyptic stuff. However, there was this geostorm that neutralized everything related to electricity. Electricity is no longer viable. Thankfully, steam technology comes to the rescue. You have steamite, a substance that allows you to power up your vehicles, your machines, anything. But the cities are not connected. The riders work as soldiers of fortune, messengers, couriers, whatever is needed to carry out business around the cities or even between cities. And the rallies determine who becomes more famous and richer. The price is quite substantial in terms of money and fame. There are other types of races, underground races that are not sanctioned. There's a lot of flavor, events, non player characters. Well, sufficient non player characters for you to introduce when you are telling a story about the characters. When it comes to the game master section, which is the customizing sessions, like I said, there is no game master. The navigator works as a sort of part-time game master, coming up with the interpretation of the roles, the results. So they give you advice on how to modify the tables, because these events that randomly occur during the sessions, they could get repetitive. So they give you ideas on how to modify that, make the races shorter or longer, changing the flavor of the game world. Comes to solo mode, it's pretty much the same, but instead you have this machina, sort of automaton. He replaces the the driver or the navigator. Let me check. The navigator. It replaces the navigator. So it's an effective and efficient way of playing the game solo without it becoming too cumbersome. It still feels like you're playing two characters at the same time, to be quite honest, but the mechanics are very simple. You also have, like I said, the campaign rules, and at the end, you have a bunch of tables to determine various things. So, overall, what do I think about this one? And I will relate it to the actual play that I played. Please check out the description. This video, you will find it there, the playlist. Thimble Riders, I recommend it highly. I highly recommend it. Highly, highly recommend it. But only if you want to play it casually, once a month. That's my recommendation, once a month. Because the system is so simple, extremely simple for what it is. You could get bored using it. And the progression of there is no character progression, there is only vehicle progression, but it's not true progression because you're discarding the parts that you have already obtained for your vehicle and changing them for other parts. You never feel like, oh, now my driving check is improving. Oh, and now my chance to shoot at the enemy is improving. There isn't any of that. And if you were to add that because of the simplicity of the system, things would become too easy. So that's why I highly, highly recommend this one. Only if you play it about once a month. It can get a bit crunchy. There are many tables with the values for the speed numbers. Not just roll and check the result. You take the result and compare it to various tables. And that could disrupt the roleplay. Check out my actual play to see how not to disrupt the roleplay. Roleplay solves everything, as I always say. There are so many numbers, values, modifiers. Simple enough, but they are there that you need to communicate them to the other player. If he doesn't have the book, you need to communicate those values. But in roleplay, our actual play, we actually handled it as if we had like an abstract system of calculations within the game world, in the fiction. Like we had our little steam powered data pad, and this part would give us plus 20 when it comes to the energy. We actually made it so that the dice actually were steamite cubes. So that way, if we were to apply this part, each steamite cube would be worth plus 3 according to my scale in the terms of producing energy. So you have to role play like that in order to preserve the immersion. You're going to have a lot of fun. That's another negative thing about the book. Perhaps the major negative thing, you don't have like a clear. They wouldn't, because neither the publisher, I wonder the author. To be fair, let me see who's the author. Who's the author? Who is the author? Haihun. It gives me the impression, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. It gives me the impression that Haihun perhaps is not very. He may not be a role player. He looks a bit more like a storyteller. That's the impression I get from him. I could be wrong. So it makes sense that he wouldn't know how to integrate roleplay with storytelling, describing your actions in the present, in the now, without taking control of the game world. And the publishers wouldn't be able to know that as well. Have you seen their awful actual play of the Shin Megami Tensei tabletop RPG? So yeah, the negative is that a lot of players are not going to know how to go from playing a role, telling a story, playing a role, telling a story, and working the mechanics to the fiction. But luckily, now we have my actual play, our actual play. Josh participated there. We said a lot. We pretty much covered everything by the end of that actual play. We criticized our session. It turned out really good. Just like a few minor things, like for example, in my case, when I was making the calculations for the rolls, but I would say it's more like a lack of familiarity with the tables. But roleplay solves everything. Both Josh and I were role playing while I was making those calculations, and the magic of the session kept going. I think that Josh was much better. That's my personal opinion. Josh was disagreeing a bit, but I think his description in the anime style, really good. Better than mine. I would say better than mine. I also wanted to tell Josh that after showing the session to my family and friends, they mentioned that it was incredible how we gave very little in terms of description, and still the world came alive. They could perfectly imagine the characters. And we described so little when it comes to the characters. We only gave like a couple of details of the vehicles, of the individuals, and that was just enough. As I said in another video, players, not only the players, but the people watching the actual play, if they have brains and imagination, they make the connection between the aesthetic dots. Do not info dump on the players. Keep brief, concise, colorful descriptions, and they will fill in the rest of the details. So, Josh, if you're watching this, that's the other thing that I wanted to tell you. People, the third party observers, have mentioned that with the few details that we gave in description, they still had an amazing, like a perfect picture of the entire game world. So yes, I'm very satisfied with that actual play. Currently, it is the only at the time of this of this video, it is the only GMless cooperative storytelling role-playing game actual play in existence at the time of this video that serves as an example. Just like the Josh also participated the first ever entire YouTube in the entire internet, the first ever tabletop role-playing game session with actual roleplay. This is no joke. This is no joke. So Josh has appeared in two videos, like two pioneer videos. We are like the Amuro Ray of on Gundam and testing the Gundam, right? Well, there were various models of the Gundam before the first Gundam in the series that we saw in the first anime, but that was like the complete model. So yes, amazing actual play. Please check it out. It's the playlist. And again, despite the ethical bankruptcy of the publisher and their abysmal knowledge on role playing, their wokeness, Team Build Riders, excellent storytelling RPG hybrid type of game once a month. Otherwise, it's going to be super repetitive. So thank you for watching this review and my thoughts on the actual play. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, consider joining as a member using the super thanks button. Take a look at the information in the description and in the pinned comment. This has been your host, Abraham L. Jaguar, a professional game master. And remember, it is better to roleplay and fail in character than not to roleplay and fail as a player. Once again, thank you and see you later.